So we've got a really exciting conversation for you guys today. We've got two heavyweights sitting here with careers and resumes that span so wide that it would end all of our time and we'd not get to the actual conversation. So I'm just going to jump right into the questions. Guys, I think I want to start with, yes, we're all talking about the acquisition, Bazaar acquires Keenu, but can we go back to the intent? Like, what was the strategic thinking behind this acquisition? How did you decide, Acha, this is a good move for us to do, for both of you?
Assalamu alaikum. Khizra, thank you so much for that question. A pleasure to be here. I would love to get into that question. Before that, let me first explain exactly what Bazaar and Keenu did before coming together. So Bazaar is an e-commerce platform. We service both businesses and consumers across 8 cities of Pakistan with our own full warehousing, last mile, and commercial and e-commerce stack of our technology. We've been operational for about 5 years. Keenu, in the same way, has been operational for 10 years, and what Keenu does is payments for businesses and also for consumers. And when I mean by payments, you might have seen the Keenu POS device in some of the restaurants we love, some of the grocery stores we go, some of the fashion retail we go. And so Bazaar as an e-commerce company and Keenu as a completely regulated, licensed payments company were sort of in two very different domains to start off with. But when you look across the world, especially in emerging markets, so if you look at Kazakhstan, if you look at Latin America or Southeast Asia, if you had a chance to go to Singapore, you open the Grab app, or if you go to Dubai, you open the Careem app. And you start to see that these apps are now evolving into multi-use cases for both businesses and consumers. And we always felt that in Pakistan, when you want to simplify the lives of businesses and consumers, bringing in services that they use on a daily basis into a single unified platform is something that would be extremely valuable for both the user, the ecosystem, and the companies that are operating in. So Bazaar, as you know, having scaled the e-commerce platform, we were always looking for entities in Pakistan. And our mission is always to stay in Pakistan. We never wanted to get distracted by any international expansion because we fundamentally believe, and it sometimes seemed like a delusional view, that you want to stay always in Pakistan and build in Pakistan. And so we always felt that the opportunity here is massive, and a lot of people don't realize that. And what's happening, maybe not on the news headlines, but also at the ground level, when you look at some of the data on digital payments and e-commerce, it is extremely fast growth at a consumer level. So when looking for companies that we could partner up with, Keenu was one entity that stands out remarkably from any other, most other fintechs in the country. So 1 in every 4 or 5 card transactions, if you have your debit card or credit card, 1 in every 4 or 5 is actually processed by Keenu in Pakistan. And that's a huge number. And Keenu is the only large non-banking entity. So typically you would see an HBL or Al-Falah or Mizan POS in a store. But Keenu is the only non-banking entity that had such a large volume, and close to $2 billion worth of payments is processed in Keenu. So when we looked at that network and that scale, and we're thinking of the likes of Careem or Grab in those regions, we felt that the coming together of commerce and payments for our users, which are consumers and businesses, would be an extremely powerful mix. And that is just the start. And so that was one of the reasons why we felt Keenu was the right candidate. But beyond that, when we met the team, Saad and his entire team, there are about 350 people who work at Keenu, the mission and vision that Bazaar had was basically to build a large technology story in and for Pakistan. It was exactly the same under the surface when we met with the Keenu team. And so while the headlines and the facts and the metrics matter for when you start to look at things, what really matters is what kind of people are involved in the businesses or in the partnerships that you want to crack. And so at the people level, we felt there was a complete culture match, complete values match, and a complete ambition match. I mean, Keenu has done remarkably well for the past 10 years, but the story is still left to be written with Keenu. And we both companies felt that both of our stories get multiplied once we come together.
Okay. Yeah. So as a layperson, how does the coming together of both of your companies change the user journey, the user experience? Like, just take us through a bit of how suddenly things are going to change for the better, but how will that change now?
That would be getting into a little bit of the secret sauce of what we're launching in the product roadmap, but I'll give you some of its examples. So today, as a consumer, you can download the Bazaar app, and I would encourage all of you, if you haven't tried it already, to download the Bazaar app. It is a full e-commerce app. Right now, you can do all groceries and lifestyle products on it. And inshallah, very soon, we'll also do sort of other categories like fashion, electronics, etc. So today, as a consumer, you can just go and buy your groceries from the Bazaar app. And then separately, if you go to J-Dot or if you go to KFC, you can pay with a bank card on a Keenu device. Now imagine if this was all done together. If you go, we're bringing the Keenu wallet into the Bazaar app. So now, not just groceries, as a consumer, when you open the app, you can also have your debit card, you can also have your salary, you can also have BNPL, all of that into the same Bazaar/Keenu app, and it will be a fully regulated entity using the licenses that Keenu has. And then imagine now, you use the same app or your Keenu card to pay at the Keenu machine. And now imagine that all of that data we use to underwrite and give you credit options, or we give you reward and loyalty points. So think of that user and that journey. So it's a little bit far ahead in terms of roadmap, but that's how we feel that for especially the consumer, you can get. And for the same businesses, today as a business, you can buy your inventory from Bazaar. So if you're a retailer or if you're a restaurant, we service supplies. So if you think of Elanto or you think of Kolachi, Bazaar provides them rice, atta, cooking oil, etc. Keenu provides them with a device that accepts payments. But now imagine there's the same platform that you can use to order your kitchen supplies, accept your payments, also have your payments come into the same wallet, and then also have financing options to finance the things that you're buying from Bazaar. Yeah. And so if it all in that integrated ecosystem, it becomes very simple for that business or consumer to access multiple services in the single platform.
Okay. So you're both still going to be operating independently despite the merger. And Saad, I'd love you to answer this question. I'd love to hear your voice now. What led to that decision of like still being independent of each other, but like working together?
Actually, I would rather say it's more of interdependent, not independent. Independence was the wrong word, because that was one of the reasons why this all happened. You see, Keenu started when the word fintech was not even very common in Pakistan, when structured VC funding didn't exist back in the day. So we started this business in a very different manner and a mindset that was good for that period of time. So for almost a decade, we ran it like a sustainable business that would keep on going for a longer term. What was absent in our approach and our thought process was how to grow it 10x. So for that, you don't only need a balance sheet, you need that particular mindset. You need that young, yet mature, ambitious leadership. And to be honest, we as a team found that our ambition under the flag of Bazaar, led by Hamza, that was the game that we were looking for and the game changer. And we had that hunger in us that, with Bazaar, under Bazaar's banner, we could achieve all that. The second part, independent, as you said. So why I say interdependent? Because since day one, and that day one happened quite earlier. That didn't happen actually on the day of acquisition. It never felt like, so we had to bring Bazaar up to speed to what we do and what are the nuances of our business, and Bazaar brought us up to speed on the plan and the grand plan that they had. So that was the only discussion and the set of alignment that we had to do for a couple of weeks maybe. Down there, I mean, our eyes started rolling again because of sheer passion as to what we want to achieve with it and how we can actually change the country in the coming few years. So the integration of teams took like 1 week. Since then, we have never looked back. We work together very closely because our mission and objective is one. Hamza, in whatever he could define right now, defined actually what we want to achieve, and there are very steps ahead. So perseverance is innate quality that we have to have in this business. Bazaar brings in a lot of young people, very beautiful tech, and a vision to go forward.
Yeah.
So I believe these two entities should be looked in the same light. They are actually one in a lot of ways. Yeah, in terms of regulation, Keenu has to operate separately. In terms of value addition and growth, so you have to consider Bazaar as Keenu and Keenu as Bazaar.
Yeah.
The names shall continue because of many reasons whatsoever. For our own strategic purposes, it shall continue. But the vision is now absolutely aligned, so it's now one single unit, the way we operate, essentially.
So I'm also curious, you know how like, as businesses, you sort of set goals, ke, I want to work with them, or unke saath. You know, what was there that moment, like you independently were like, you know, maybe we want to partner with a company like Bazaar, and you guys on your end were like, that looks like someone we want to partner with?
Actually, it's pretty much the opposite. We never wanted to partner with anybody because we never used to find anybody who had the same beating heart as us. You know, I mean, our thought process never resonated with anyone. I met Hamza like 3 years before the acquisition, and that was the eureka moment. I fell for him and Saad, the two co-founders. I said,
It's like a match made in heaven.
I believe so. I believe so, and the best you could find in this country, at least. So I saw young yet mature, considerate yet very aggressive people, and you know, people who really want to make a difference. Chatter is always there. People talk about a lot of stuff, but there are very few doers in Pakistan, unfortunately, because we haven't really brought up inspiring stories.
Yeah.
And that is what I see day in, day out. So what to others may seem like, you know, oldies like me and my team and younger people like them, for the outside it looks like a contrast. But on the inside, we are being challenged to match the energy of what Bazaar brings in, and that's the magic. That's what I enjoy doing. The challenge, weekly basis that we give to ourselves and our team, and the way it's going to get executed. So yeah, for the longest time, I in particular would say I was not happy with any other things that any of the things that were coming our way. This seemed like a journey where we could play a role in the future, and we could really make Keenu with Bazaar 10x from what it is now.
Yeah.
So all other things probably we conquered, the mentality that we had 10 years ago. But now standing in 2025, 2024, we thought 4 years, 5 years down the line, how could we be the game in Pakistan which could inspire the younger generation and become the first unicorn in Pakistan. Hamza doesn't like it when I say it. He says it's a very tall ask that is. But this is what we believe in.
Super app.
This is going to be, through super app and many other factors, I believe this is going to be the first unicorn in Pakistan.
Now, this sounds very invigorating, at least for both the companies also. So how does it feel being the country's first integrated commerce and fintech organization? And I say this as someone with very vague, visibility of the kind of obstacles and red tape and everything that one has to go through to, make it here. How does that feel?
Yeah, I think it feels extremely exciting, and I'll sort of unpack what that means. What that means is Bazaar as an e-commerce company and Keenu as a full financial services regulated entity. We feel that's one of the first sort of mixes of its kind, where a group together has capability that can do a full stack of e-commerce, but also has the licenses to do cards and payments. So at one point, it feels extremely exciting of what it is not now, but what it could be,
yeah,
and what we want it to be. But I also feel a weight of responsibility because the more you do, the more expectations start to line up. And I just don't mean expectations of the public. I mean expectations of the 1,000 people that work at Bazaar and about 400 people that work at Keenu. Their expectations with their own companies are already very high. But when you do companies come together and they start to see the momentum, the expectations and the responsibilities and the weight of our responsibility seems very high. But I think we feel confident in our ability to do that. We truly feel there is a 1 + 1 = 11 situation here, where the capabilities and the experience and the maturity that the Keenu management has, and as Saad likes to say, the energy and the young vibe that we have, it's coming together nicely. So I will just say that there's a lot that's coming out, and a lot of exciting stuff that we're looking forward to.
But then, there's always the challenges. And what are some of the major ecosystem challenges that the acquisition aims to address and help resolve?
Yeah, I think so. First, especially with the acquisition, when it's, doing an acquisition in Pakistan is quite tricky because we feel that, especially in technology, there has not been a lot of M&A activity in the ecosystem. And to build that bigger story, I feel there has to be a lot more M&A activity where a lot more companies need to come together, because one is to be extremely territorial and say, I'm going to build my own small shop and retain control. But when you think about partnering and coming together, the outcome becomes very large that people can do it on their own. So I feel like there hasn't been a lot of M&A and there has to be more. So when there has not been a lot of activity of something that you're doing it for, one of the first times, it is very tricky in terms of regulations, in terms of due diligences, in terms of the legality of stuff. For example, it took us about 8 months from signing the deal to getting all of the approvals in place. These are, a bunch of approvals like Competition Commission, State Bank, and those take their due time also because of good reason, because they have to see the everything is fit and proper in terms of people and companies. So that was a big learning. I mean, I'm just 32. I'm very young to be buying companies. So I was also very conscious of the fact that there is a lot of learning to be done here and we have to be patient. So those were some of the challenges around proving to all of the regulators in Pakistan that this is the vision, this is the mission. And ultimately, we felt that there was a lot of buy-in from the stakeholders locally in the grander story that we were presenting. I think, but when it comes to our internal sort of red tape and challenges, we also have to be sure that on day one of when the companies came together, we had an all hands. And all hands is when we gather everybody in the company. And so my message to every single person who worked at Keenu was the following. It was, nothing changes for anybody at Keenu, because naturally, if something new comes together as a company, people are feeling, okay, what's going to happen to my job? Am I going to get a promotion? What's going to happen to my salary? What's going to happen to my manager? Are we going to retain the same office or not? So we came in as Bazaar's leadership and we told everybody at Keenu, nothing changes for anybody at all except for one person, and that's the CEO of Keenu, who now has a new boss, and that's it. And that we felt gave a lot of comfort to people in two things. One, A, nothing changes, and second, their leadership is nothing changes, because they look to their leaders as well. And we can't pretend to be leaders of a new company on day one. The leaders have to remain, and we felt that it is also beneficial for both companies that everything stays the same, and while we work on joint projects that we can do together.
And also in terms of leadership, obviously you want to also leverage Saad's experience in building Keenu and everything, so it kind of creates more smooth pathway that way.
Absolutely.
But let me just make it.
Yeah.
Keenu has never been a one-man company.
Sure.
There is no one leader. There's a leadership team, and that is a very, and same is the case with Bazaar, alhamdulillah. That's the beauty of it, that, we have a strong tier one that, challenges each other. It's a very round table kind of a culture, and that matched very well with Bazaar. Now that round table has actually extended. Yeah. And to be honest, internally when we have such meetings, you can't really tell that who's the group CEO and who's the one leading Keenu and who's the one who's a technology head. So, and those conversations are like very candid, rough, tough, for the duration of the meeting, and we come out with conclusions at all points in time. And so that's how you got to build big companies.
Right.
That's how I've read and I've experienced great companies were built outside of Pakistan.
Yeah.
So I think none of this existed earlier. My experience can only tell me one thing, that what was wrong earlier with entities, with large entities, with structured companies. I've been a banker. It's probably kind of a disadvantage rather than advantage now. But this is what I bring to the table, that, such is the kind of leadership structure. And everybody rallies around it then. And then that culture where even a junior most employee can raise a red flag and say, this is wrong. And the top people at the top, who seemingly are the ones on spotlight, they are humble enough to understand that this is the right thing to do. So that's the great part, and that's what I enjoy working with Bazaar team. Yeah.
Got it. So how closely does the outcome of the two merging resemble that of Flipkart and PhonePe and Alibaba's creation of Alipay? Are we sort of following that same journey?
I think at a conceptual, broad level, one can say, yes, that's the concept. But I think it will be a mistake for us to just completely say that this is going to be a copy-paste of one model or the other. We are constantly thinking in our sort of boardrooms and in leadership meetings of what use cases companies like Kaspi. So we all know Flipkart, but I would encourage everybody of looking at this company called Kaspi. Kaspi is a company in Kazakhstan, which is a country of about 20 million people, so it's smaller than Karachi. But that company is a technology company. It's listed on the New York Stock Exchange for about $24 billion. What that company does is e-commerce, banking, payments, BNPL, logistics, etc., etc., etc. That Kaspi's app is opened more times than WhatsApp in that country because it does so many use cases for that. So those are some of the companies that we get inspired from.
Right.
But we also then have to really localize not just what we're building, but how also we're sequencing. So what comes first, what comes second, what comes third. And we're taking a very practical testing approach to launching products. But of course, then the framework is something like in Alibaba, Alipay, Kaspi, even Mercado Libre in South America.
Okay. And to what degree will the acquisition influence and structure Pakistan's digital payment ecosystem?
To be honest, there are, if I got right, what are the factors that, repeated?
What degree will the acquisition influence and structure Pakistan's digital payment ecosystem?
A lot of things, actually. To be honest, what was pretty much absent, and I believe that is where the green field for us especially lies. And there didn't exist an entity. I look at Bazaar Keenu, as I said, it's the same entity now. There didn't exist an entity that had the whole 9 yards, right? You have to have an infrastructure. You could use that infrastructure, and you could actually customize it to the needs of a particular individual. So a consumer's needs all fulfilled in one app, a merchant's needs all fulfilled in terms of payments, and an app for the merchant on its own. The upstream payments, digitization of the upstream. A lot of entities are doing that, particularly a few ones who have really gained ground. Us integrating with them, providing them the last mile payments, and using that data to go deeper and offering them the financial needs. So we have been talking about BNPLs, we've talked about lending. It has not been successful due to many factors. One major ones that you really don't know who that customer is, who that merchant is, and what their needs are. We bring that to the table, combining it. I believe in the next 2-3 years, you will see a lot of change happening, a lot of entities getting inspired, bringing in new models. We as an entity would be open to work with them as well. As Hamza said, you just have to imagine Kazakhstan, as he said, 20 million people. So we can find these 20 million people in Pakistan, but the geography is very difficult. So there had to be an entity strong enough, stable enough, with a sustainable business model that has the potential and the wherewithal to expand to the geography. So I believe we can touch those 20 million people of similar, psychographics, demographics, whatever you call them, and we could touch them and become that entity very soon. So we are laying down infrastructure. At the same time, we are expanding that very aggressively. We believe there is another growth opportunity of another 20 to 30x, I would say, maybe more we don't know of, where we could actually lay down the acceptance infrastructure. On top of it, individual consumers. So going down to the ground, we see a lot of problems happening. For shopping of consumer goods, you need a separate app. In order to book a ride-hailing, for ride-hailing, you need to have a separate app. Combining them, providing them the best-in-class user experience that is not Western in nature, should rather be pretty much localized. So that is going to really show the impact. So it doesn't have to be a big company or a small company. So we are at the right time, with the right team, the right mindset. I think this was what was required. So this whole thing, the next few years will be marked in history as, inshallah, going to be the best in the digital landscape of Pakistan.
And so with Keenu's reach and all of the operational and all of the opportunities that Bazaar brings, I think this looks really good for the future of financial inclusion also in Pakistan.
I'll give you a very quick real number, Khizra, is in the entire country, there are just about less than 200,000 card machines. And when you think of individual businesses, those are about less than 100,000 individual businesses or retail stores that have an ability to accept a card machine. Bazaar has one product called Easy Khata. On just that one product, we have about 300,000 retailers using it for retail payments and accounting. So the first thing we're doing is bringing the cost of that POS down, either by launching a QR code or even a much cheaper POS device, because the current POS device that we all see is a nice touchscreen Android device.
Yeah.
But when you think of this really small merchant, the reason why we don't see a card payment option there, because it's very difficult for a bank or Keenu to deploy a POS device because it costs a lot. So first thing we're doing is bringing the cost of payments down extremely low and using the distribution of Bazaar in the smallest retail of Pakistan and then deploying those low-cost payment device options there. So that's one of the key things we feel will be beneficial for the digital payment ecosystem.
Okay, so guys, before we wrap up, I just want to zoom out for a second. With the move of this scale, where do you see Pakistan's tech and fintech ecosystem heading from here?
I'll give my answer. I think, and I say this with a lot of self-awareness that, and all of us know here what's happened in Pakistan tech, right? So we were in 2016 to 2019 phase where we had between 10 to 20 to $30 million worth of venture capital coming into the country. Then we suddenly hit 2020. We hit about $40 to $50 million worth of venture capital in the country. Then came 2021, and then came 2022. Both those years had $300 million worth of venture capital coming into the country. Then 2023 came, where interest rates went up, politics changed in the country, floods came, inflation hit, both globally and locally. The venture capital in the country, and you need venture capital for technology growth, completely tanked to almost less than 10 million, 15, 20 million for 2023, 2024, and 2025. But that does not tell the story of technology in Pakistan. When you look at the story of technology in Pakistan, 2024 and 2025 was the first year in the history of our country where branch-based banking transactions are flat. But digital financial services transactions have been growing at above 30% every single year for the past 5 years, despite no venture dollars coming in. What that tells you that what Pakistan was expecting to happen in 2020 in technology, and when the money started coming in, actually is now happening 5 to 7 years later than we all thought. So the next 5 to 7 years, I feel, are extremely exciting because when you take that line of growth and when you extend that another 5 to 10 years, there are multiple unicorns waiting to be built in e-commerce, logistics, digital payments, banking in the country. And I fundamentally believe that that is where we're headed.
In 3 years, I believe, in 10 years, in terms of digital acceptance, usage of cards on machines, we have grown 6 times. from $1 billion to now $6 billion. I believe in the next 3 years, we'll be able to double it. And the next 2 years after that, we'll be able to double it every 2 years. Such is the scale of opportunity. And this is what's absolutely exciting, I believe.
This is one of those Pakistan Zindabad moments. But
Thank you.
Thank you so much, you guys. This was a very interesting conversation. I think people want to know more, but we've run out of time.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.